This is Movie and a Beer, a podcast based in Portland, Oregon, where you can share in our discussion about movies and what beers go best with them. From classic cinema to the latest blockbuster, we all can use a little help figuring out what beers to enjoy in the theater or at home. So listen in and explore with us the vast world of ales and lagers to pair up with your movie experience. On this episode of Movie and a Beer, we're going to flip the script a little bit and discuss a beer that you may have in your fridge or in your home draft system, Mirror Pond Pale Ale by Deschutes Brewing. And then we're going to discuss what movies that we each picked to watch while enjoying this beer. We've decided to approach it a little differently this time because we all have beer in our fridges, at least most of us do. We spend more time looking at Netflix or Hulu or something online, figuring out what to watch. So we're going to give you some sage advice on what movies to watch, TV shows, or various things as we select different beers.
Yes, do as we command.
So, Mirror Pond Pale Ale. Well, before we get started, I'm Dan Kapersky, and this is...
I'm Blake.
And I'm Randall.
We forget to introduce ourselves sometimes. I apologize for that. If you've heard a few episodes, you know who we are. So, Mirror Pond Pale Ale. It's a really nice, beautiful label that they changed periodically.
This one's super cool.
This current one has an eagle on it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like an eagle.
Yeah.
Eagle talon, or an eagle diving into water.
That's what they do.
Pretty awesome looking.
Get crazy high up.
So if you guys want to
get them fishes,
open up a couple of bottles here so we can take a look at it as we're talking about it. Mirror Pond Pale Ale, like I said, it's an American pale. Was first brewed in 1988. So it's about 31 years old as of 2019. So that's a long time. It is a single hop beer that uses Cascade hops. It has floral, caramel, and citrus kind of hop profiles. It's definitely a lighter amber color, kind of brown, like a light brown with a hit of red on it. Has okay head retention. The head's a little off-white. You got small bubbles, big bubbles. Does have a packaged on date. Was 8/01/19, so this bottle's not that old. This beer gets distributed pretty widely, so you should be able to find it in most grocery stores. Bottle shops would definitely have it, or a version of Deschutes. But this is a very classic American pale ale, single hop profile. It has a very beautiful balance between medium body that has a mild chew. The aromas are amazing when you first take a sniff. You're going to have orange peel, pine, some citrus pithy dryness, even some stone fruit, and then you'll have that kind of grainy sweetness on the back. And the flavors just marry that. What I really like about this beer is that it'll open up as it's poured in the glass. As the beer warms up, more of the hops express. So,
man, that's cool.
The movie I picked, I literally had three beers during while I watched the movie. I was not planning on drinking that much, but I can just sip and sip and sip and sip. You don't have to think about this beer. It's just really classic.
I'm really glad you said that, because I also put down 2 without realizing it, and I thought I should really, because Dan was nice enough to let me have some of his, and I thought I have to save these for the podcast, so I cracked something else, and it just wasn't the same. But my third one was like, the other one goes way better with it.
I actually had a really hard time finding the beer. I went to Whole Foods. They didn't have it.
Dan bought them all.
Then I went to New Seasons, and they didn't have it. And then later that day, I went to a bottle shop, and I got there just as they were closing. And so I almost got it that time, but I didn't get it. So I actually didn't get to drink this beer when I watched my movie.
Scandal.
So, but you know what? I chose a movie that I've seen before already, and so because I've had this beer already before, so I was like, okay, I can imagine.
Yeah, smart.
What I would watch drinking this beer.
Yeah. And this beer, while it may not necessarily fit into the beer world of today, because everyone's doing really super hoppy New England IPAs that aren't necessarily balanced.
IPAs.
This beer is amazing. It's named, if you've ever been to Bend, Oregon, it has the Deschutes River that runs through the city. Well, it's a small city. And there's a slow portion that actually looks like a big pond, where the water is so slow that it actually goes glassy sometimes, and that's why they call it Mirror. They actually call it Mirror Pond.
Nice.
Little bit of information there. If you go to the Deschutes website, they have virtual tours of the downtown area and of the area and everything. So pretty nice. The cool thing is, so this beer, having been around for over 30 years, gets entered in competitions quite a lot. and has won quite a lot. So, Great American Beer Festival, it's won gold and bronze in various categories.
Brewers Association Independent Craft. Little stamp on the label there.
Yeah, they're part of the movement that the American Brewers Association started, where they do identify independent breweries by this kind of upside-down bottle stamp that's on labels. You can find it in cans and on packaging, and that sort of guarantees you you're drinking what would be considered craft beer, not somebody bought out by a big company.
10 Barrel got bought, right?
The 10 Barrel still, I think, tastes fine.
Do you guys support a company like 10 Barrel getting bought up, or what's your stance on that?
I don't educated in the subject matter enough to really make a solid call. I know I don't like big business buying everything up. I'm not big on like big business buying up little guys, but then it maybe benefits the little guy, which I'm cool with.
Yeah.
But I also am not that kind of hipster. Like, just keep it local, man.
Right.
We'll just keep giving you money. We'll just keep it all local. So I'm torn, honestly.
I think the trend has been back in the day when they would get bought out, they'd get closed down. Eliminate the competition.
Yeah.
Now they just view it as a secondary income stream. We can dump some money into it. We've kind of talked about this before. The bigger you are, the more hops you can buy, and then corner specific hops from specific growers and buy out whole lots. So 1 year you may be the only brewery getting this hop. So that's one of the problems, is then you're eliminating the ability for smaller breweries that don't have the buying power and aren't buying for national companies. But from the standpoint of, say, like 10 Barrel, who got bought out by a bigger company, West Coast breweries that got a little big and were profitable enough and distributed big enough that they were something that the larger companies thought about, hey, we can throw some money at this, expand their business. As long as you can still do the same recipes, we'll just help you make more of it and expand where you're distributing it. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I mean, it sucks the money isn't necessarily going back into the business, that it's going to a bigger owner. When you open a brewery, that's a decision anyone has to make, is, do we want to get bought out or do we want to stay at a certain size? Because inevitably that happens. If you don't fail, you can get to a certain point and be comfortable, production, with distribution, with whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of drunk discussions about that topic that I've had with a number of different friends.
Drunks, the scholars of our time.
Yeah. But yeah, again, this beer totally opens up as it sits around.
Yeah, if you
It'll
can't
start expressing more.
Yeah, if you can get this, definitely get it. It's boy howdy.
The more I drink it, the more I open up.
If you have a commercial to insert, this is where you would want to do it. Okay, now we're back. Let's pick it up with Blake.
Oh, I'm so excited. So I had to try the beer before I could pick a movie, and I sipped it, and I thought, I'm feeling action. Sipped it again, steady action. Sipped it again, but something kind of smart. So I went with The Raid Redemption. It's an, I believe, Indonesian action movie following basically a SWAT team storming a slumlord's apartment, his hideout, with the intention of taking out his cronies and get him out. He finds out before they can get too far into the building. He puts a lockdown. It's the building versus the cops, and it's just this really good martial arts movie. There's this nice family story in there mixed in. It's, oh my god, it's just so good. And
wait, what's it called?
The Raid Redemption.
The Raid Redemption.
There's there's reveals, and the characters are maybe a little tropey at times. I mean, if you're tired of American martial art action movies where they edit constantly, so you can't to hide bad choreography, these fights are brutal. They just keep going. They film for a full, I think, up to a minute, and then just cut what they need to make it dynamically cool. I am blanking on the director, but he's done some other stuff, and it's
Gareth Evans.
Yeah, he does. Cause thank you, brain.
Thanks, augmented brain.
The shots are cool. It's, oh my god. Anytime someone's I need to watch a good fighting movie, the Raid Redemption. For my soundbite, this beer hits as hard as those hits in the movie. I watch this movie with the subtitles.
I love when films get dubbed, especially English films in foreign countries. And they
Boy,
dub. Yeah, I lived in Spain, and they would do that to all the American movies. Most of the movie houses, the theaters there, would dub all of the English-speaking films, and it was very rare that you'd go to like a foreign film, aka an American film, and it was like the actual voices. And I'll tell you, some of the dubs are just the most entertaining things to ever hear.
That's amazing.
Did they have specific actors that maintained they always played that
I think so. Yeah,
that actor?
yeah.
Regardless of the film, they were always that actor. Because I
Yeah,
know in Germany they do that, so it's consistent.
yeah. They do that. It's how funny would that be to be known as like, yeah, I'm Brad Pitt's voice in Germany. Like, yeah. Does he get like stopped for autographs?
Only
you
way
think?
he like speaks out loud, like he's at a bar. Like I'll have a Hofbrau original. Hey,
Aren't
weren't you
Brad
in
Pitt?
7 Years in Tibet and Fury and Fight Club? Yeah, I'm German Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's in.
I actually had a Spanish friend who watched an English movie with me with some actors that she's always heard dubbed in Spanish, and she was like, so like, oh my god, that's what their voice really sounds like.
That's amazing.
It was so like, yeah, what do you mean? That's cool. I'll check it out. The Redemption, no, the Raid
Raid,
colon
the Raid Redemption. Which I don't know why they did. I think I know why they did that. Character sort of redeems, but it's the first. They made a sequel, and I think they just called that the Raid 2.
Yeah, Dan, what'd you watch?
So I watched Blade Runner 2049.
Nice.
I had seen this film in the theater, and I had not watched it since. So it's been a few years. Huge, got turned on to sci-fi films and fantasy stuff as a kid, back when like the first Blade Runner, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner came out, which was, crazy for the time that it was made. Incredible mix of film noir approach. And they reflect a lot of those scenes and approaches to the filmmaking. Denis Villeneuve, I think that's how you say his last name, is a director, and he's done some amazing stuff that I've seen. The simple fact that they brought Harrison Ford back and he agreed to it. Ridley Scott was one of the producers of it, so I think with his writing and kind of Harrison was okay with coming into it, and his part's fairly small and towards the end. Just an amazing film that, while it is 2.5 hours long, you may drink more than a couple beers. Remember to hydrate. I was double fisting water while I was watching it because I would literally just sit there and drink my beer so fast. I was like, damn it. Now I need water. Just crazy. But anyway, so the replicants are robots that look and act and sound very human. They're really hard to tell apart from human beings. Humans have colonized. There was a big crash 30 years ago. The movie takes place 30 years after the original Blade Runner did.
Nice.
There was a big computer crash that wiped out most of the computer systems, really screwed society up. And so this is kind of the after effects of that. Within the movie, the company that originally made the replicants got closed down, and another company came in and bought them. And while product placement was kind of secondary in the first Blade Runner movie, in this one it's really prominent. Mm-hmm. Because it's all commercial, everything is run by companies. Outer space exploration is ran by companies and robots. The replicants are the slave labor that runs society.
Oh, cool.
And the film really digs into what it means to be human, or as they say in the film, our act of doing something without regret that would be self-sacrifice is the greatest human thing that a replicant can do. And ultimately, not to plot spoil it, that's what Ryan Gosling's detective, well, he's a Blade Runner. He goes after old replicants. He's actually looked down upon by most of society. Anyone who's a human that's not a robot looks down at him because he is, he's not worth being considered human for some reason in society. I guess they don't get treated well. And so it really kind of sparks a lot of at least internal dialogue with me on how we treat each other, what it means to be human. I mean, you have this robot trying to become human or thinking he was born as a hybrid between a woman robot, a female robot, and Harrison Ford as the father, and that's the big reveal.
Ooh,
yeah,
neat.
So at the end, Rachel, at the end of the original Blade Runner, Rachel is the replicant that Harrison Ford falls in love with. He's supposed to take her out. They escape, they run away, and they actually end up going, they don't go off-world, but they travel around the world, or they travel around the U.S. some. So he goes from L.A. to where he's now located in Las Vegas, but he gives up the child in order to protect the thing you love. Sometimes you have to give it up, which is another human trait that gets talked about in a lot of films. But Again, this is an amazing visual masterpiece in my mind. The film noir aspects of it, the sound is used. There isn't necessarily a score that I can think of that uses so much bass so much. There's a lot of because all the vehicles that run around, they use that as background. You know, it's a humming, the house was shaking kind of thing.
Nice.
Because I turned up the volume and I was like, "Whoa, here we go." But have you guys seen the latest Blade Runner that I'm talking about?
I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing, but I want to. 'Cause I did like the first one, and I've always liked Ryan Gosling's acting. There was a point in high school where everyone was like, "Oh man, he's just a pretty face." Like, well, no, he's actually kind of good.
Ryan Gosling?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He was
He was,
really good.
I saw him recently in, what was the astronaut movie? It was The Astronaut? Is that what it's called? What was it called? What was Ryan Gosling just in where he played Neil Armstrong?
Oh, First Man?
Yeah, I think
First
it was
Man. First Man. No, he was great in that. I really like that movie. I saw Blade Runner. I'll tell you a story. I was going through a breakup at the time, and I went to go see Blade Runner by myself to kind of take my mind
Mm-hmm.
off of my human existence, and wishing I was a replicant. And I ended up leaving about 20 minutes before it ended.
Oh no.
Not because it was bad necessarily, but it was just kind of like a little dark and a little sad, and I just was like, I'll pick this up another time. So I actually haven't seen the end, but I thought it was good. I thought like the soundtrack was awesome, right? Like it definitely has such a distinct sound, right? Like the Blade Runner sound. The visuals towards the end when he meets Harrison Ford, just like that orange. The colors were just incredible, like all the gradients. And that director did some other movies that I really liked too. He did Arrival. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good.
I did like Arrival.
And Sicario, the first one.
I haven't seen Sicario,
You
but I
should
really
definitely
want to.
check that out. That's a really good one. But I think Harrison Ford did a great job. I'm glad that he's doing more movies these days. I feel like he came back a few years ago and
Mm-hmm.
started doing a bunch of films. What was it? Indiana Jones, I think it was the Crystal Skull or something. Not a great film. It was fun
Would
to
not
see
have
him come back.
would not have been the best note to end on.
Yeah. So I'm glad he came back to do this one, and I think his performance was better than The Force Awakens. So, but I'm gonna go back and drink this beer and watch it.
Yeah.
Again.
I'm gonna watch it all the way through and not fall asleep 20 minutes in.
I'm not gonna.
It's a 2.5 hour movie, so you just be prepared.
Yeah,
so,
I think my brain just knew that. I was like, yeah, you're going to sleep now.
yeah, I really did think watching it that this could be society in 30 years. It's just things wipe out and we have AI out there and robots doing stuff. How do we treat them and how do we expect them to treat us?
As our overlords and masters. I keep telling you this and no one believes me.
It's either going to be octopus.
That's why the Roomba gets
Or
the bed
robots.
and I sleep on the floor.
That's a good one.
I hope my next girlfriend's a hologram.
Just like Ryan Gosling's character in the movie.
Just like Ryan Gosling's character in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll solve a lot of problems, I think, for a lot of people.
Officer K, he was madly in love and brought his hologram girlfriend to life by downloaded her onto a production stick.
I mean, that's where we're going, I think.
I mean, people
holographic
have fire
relationships.
sticks. Yeah. But anywho.
I'm just kidding. I hope I don't need a holographic girlfriend.
Not
You
yet.
need a holographic wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Holographic kids, that way you can just shut them off when you need to.
Exactly. Oh my
Bedtime.
God,
Click.
yeah. Okay, so
What'd you watch?
I watched a movie that I've seen before because I've had this beer before, and it's a movie that came out around the inception of this beer. A little movie called Back to the Future Part 2.
Nice.
You guys seen it? Heard of
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Doc. So I'm not crazy about this beer. I like it. I think it's a great beer. I would totally drink it anytime. I think I'm just so familiar with it and drank it so much that I think that I've had better beers since that I appreciate more. But this is definitely a good beer that I would drink any time. Kind of like this movie, Back to the Future Part 2. It's a fun movie. It's a movie that totally doesn't need to exist.
No.
Like, when you watch this movie, like, you realize that Doc could have just been like, hey, Marty, your kids are going to get arrested and do this shit, so just don't do that thing. And the rest of the movie, you don't need to have the rest of the movie. But, it's convenient for Doc to take Marty to the future to save his kids, and otherwise there's no movie. But I realized this movie is exactly pretty much the first one, just remade. It's all of the same plot points.
Oh, yeah.
With zero of the character development arc. And it's actually okay. I'm okay with that. I'm like, it's a fun, easy movie to watch. And I think the directors kind of realized or didn't want the audience to take it too seriously. You know, they poke fun at themselves in the movie by rehashing the same jokes, right? And so I sat down and I watched that movie. I didn't drink the beer because I couldn't find the beer. I do enjoy the beer, and I'd watch that movie again and I'd drink this beer again, and I wouldn't take it too seriously. Yeah, just enjoy the ride for what it is. Back to the Future Part 2. 2 thumbs up.
How many Jaws were they on? Jaws like 13?
I think it was Jaws like 19 or something, and it was directed by Max Spielberg, his son. So
nice. Instead of that, we got The Meg. I'm rolling my eyes.
Hey, now.
Did you know that
I
they
watched that film on TV the other day. It's not that bad.
What is it? The Meg?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
Jason Statham punches a megalodon.
Yes.
Oh yes. God, this looks so good. I can't wait
It's
to watch
dinosaur shark hunting. You'd be better off just watching Shark Week on the Discovery Channel.
They in the special box edition of Back to the Future Part 2, they film a movie with Christopher Lloyd explaining why 2015 doesn't look like 2015 in the movie.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It was pretty good. Like, apparently something that was invented causes some sort of future apocalypse in the year 2040, and so Doc Brown goes back in time to prevent those events from happening. So, like, what we're actually seeing in the movie is an alternate reality.
Tight.
So, I thought that was pretty clever of them to do that. But
how dare he take my double ties away from me?
Totally pointless.
It was for Reddit.
Yeah,
Reddit was blowing up over it.
That's a movie I can't wait till they remake, though. Let's remake Back to the Future. I think that would be good. Okay, well, that's all I got to say about that movie and the beer. I like the beer. Again, I think we've had better on this show. You can edit that out if you want. I don't care.
Good point. I mean,
you can come up to the max volume, so it's just...
Yeah. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. So
there's all of these new beers that are really good and strange and different and fit my personality and my taste buds better. And so I just kind of forgot about Maripond, actually. Yeah.
This is the first time I'd had this beer in quite a few years.
Boy, sure sounds like a reflection.
It was. I was like,
scene, huh?
I was trying to think
reflection, Dan. Reflection.
Like, even when I go to eat at the Deschutes, when I eat at the Deschutes restaurant, downtown. I've been to the one in Bend, the parent mothership in Bend. I've also been to the one in downtown Portland a number of times. I don't ever order this beer.
Yeah.
Because I know what it is. It's like it's there. It's classic. If I need a fallback.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are a lot more interesting styles and approaches to IPAs and pale ales now. That this is again a single hop, very classic. Would even be called an English bitter.
I mean, the word classic is kind of perfect. It's 30 years old, 31 years old.
Yeah, anything more than 20 is a classic, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I chose Back to the Future Part 2, because it is kind of a classic film. It's not like the best film, right? But I still have a lot of love for it. I do have some love for this beer because it's good. It's been good for 30 years, and it'll be good for another 30 years. But
it'll be good when Biff Tannen takes over the world. Oh, he already did.
Womp womp. What was your favorite part from that movie? What do you guys like?
From Back to the Future.
Back to the
Part
Future.
2?
Yeah.
Part 1 or Part 2?
Part 2.
When I think when Marty's like stuck over that pond. This isn't tying into the name. It's just when he's over that thing of water and the hoverboard just stops.
No pun intended.
Like,
that was good.
The simple fact that when he was getting chased on the hoverboard, that they still crashed and got trash dumped on him.
Yeah.
Like in the first one, it was manure.
Right.
And the second one, they still.
Yeah.
It's like again, they literally shot almost a shot for shot remake of the scenes, just done in the future.
Right.
So I that's the memorable scene. The rest of it is just really drab dialogue and not so interesting. They really didn't even push the special effects other than something like the hoverboard or the shark that came out at him for the advertisement. Mm-hmm. And beyond that, there really wasn't any other special effects.
I think I liked the first part where they're in the future, 2015, a lot when I was a kid. And then when 2015 got here, I was really like, oh.
Disappointed.
Any day now, guys. Hoverboard.
All right. So thank you all for listening today. And as always, drink responsibly. And please note the opinions expressed during the taping of this podcast are those of the hosts. I think that wraps it up.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. This has been Movie and a Beer. Stay tuned for future episodes and features to be added to our website and podcast. And please remember to drink responsibly and hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.